Ugochi lost her husband in front of his entire family, and they said it was her fault. They didn't stop at that. No, they brought out the cup's water and told her, "Drink it to prove your innocence." Now, imagine going through all this and still carrying cement on her head to feed her children, while the real enemy hides in plain sight. Buckle up, because this story is not for the faint-hearted. If happiness had a face, it would look exactly like Ugochi Ikobi and her husband, Humphrey Ikobi. Their laughter echoed in the house like music that never stopped. It wasn't one of those forced social media smiles. No, this one was real. The kind that starts rumbling from the stomach and rolls out of the mouth like thunderous joy. Humphrey, a tall, charismatic businessman with a wallet that had never seen poverty, adored his wife. He used to tell people that marrying Ugochi was the smartest business deal he ever made. And to be fair, he wasn't lying. Ugochi was stunning. Her figure curved like a professionally drawn road map, and her smile could melt a frozen heart faster than Kaduna sun melts lip gloss. They had 2 children, David, who was 10 and already acting like a small husband, and Sylvia, 8, whose favorite hobby was reminding people that she was not a baby. Their home was peaceful, filled with Saturday morning pillow fights, family dinners full of laughter, and late night movie marathons where someone always slept off before the climax. But not far away, dressed in jealousy and wrapped in layers of envy, stood Brenda, Ugochi's so-called best friend. Brenda had been close to Ugochi since their university days, but while Ugochi's home was filled with love, Brenda's heart was filled with desperation and anger. She was beautiful too, very beautiful, but behind her perfectly arched eyebrows was a mind sharper than a new kitchen knife. Brenda would visit often, smiling too much and complimenting too hard. She would say things like, Ugochi, so this your husband is still this romantic. God, when oh. But deep inside, she was mentally scratching her own eyeballs out. She didn't hate Ugochi because she was evil. She hated her because she couldn't understand how a woman could have love, children, peace, and still look that good in a wrapper. At some point, Brenda couldn't take it anymore. One weekend, Brenda visited as usual. She and Ugochi were in the kitchen when all of a sudden, she told Ugochi that she needed some financial advice on a business she wanted to venture into. Ugochi quickly directed her to her husband, who indeed was good with anything business. So, while Ugochi was alone in the kitchen preparing her signature egusi soup, Brenda sat with Humphrey on the balcony. She laughed too loud at his dry joke and leaned in just enough for her perfume to introduce itself aggressively. Then she took a deep breath, tilted her head, and dropped the first drop of poison. Humphrey, there's something I've been dying to tell you, but I didn't want to cause problems between you and Ugochi. It's just that I care about you too much to keep quiet. Humphrey raised an eyebrow, but Brenda continued, voice trembling just enough to sound concerned but not suspicious. I've been hearing things. I didn't believe it at first, but people say Ugochi is seeing someone, or more than one person. I didn't believe it but the way she dresses these days, the way she will call me to ask me to cover up for her and say that she is in my house in case you call me and ask for her whereabouts, I'm scared she might ruin everything you've worked so hard for. Humphrey froze. His heart skipped. Something inside him tightened, like a shoe that no longer fits. He didn't ask questions. He didn't doubt Brenda, who they all took as a good friend of Ugochi. He simply nodded slowly, like a foolish man, and said, "Thank you, Brenda. I appreciate your honesty. That night, he lay beside Ugochi in bed and watched her sleep. Her face looked peaceful, too peaceful. With her back curled like a question mark and one hand resting gently over Humphrey's chest, Ugochi had no idea that her trusted friend had just lit a silent fire in her marriage. Humphrey stared at the ceiling, blinking like someone who had just received breaking news from a reliable source. Every breath Ugochi took beside him sounded louder than usual, almost like she was breathing with intention. Suspicion had crept in, quietly, but now it was spreading like spilled kerosene on a kitchen floor. And just like that, one seed of doubt started to grow, fed by silence, watered by suspicion. By morning, something in Humphrey had shifted. He still smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He still kissed her forehead, but it felt more like a duty than affection. And when Ugochi laughed, he stared too long, as though trying to decode if the laughter was hiding something. At first, Ugochi didn't notice. She was busy being her usual self, packing the kids' lunch boxes with notes that read, "Mommy loves you," reminding Humphrey about his dry-cleaned suits, and planning David's upcoming birthday with her usual perfectionist energy. But Brenda kept visiting. Sometimes with a plate of steaming food she claimed she just made and thought to share. Other times with fake laughter and tight hugs. She was the type of guest that would pop in unannounced and leave breadcrumbs of chaos behind. One minute she was complimenting Ugochi's cooking, the next minute she was subtly planting seeds. "Ugochi, my friend, you are always looking fine, oh. This your waist. If I had this kind of figure, me I won't be home by 5 p.m. oh. Men too full outside that will pay billions just to have a hug from you." And then she would laugh, flipping her wig dramatically, while Ugochi giggled innocently, not knowing Brenda's tongue was sharper than a broken bottle and that she was trying to tempt her into being unfaithful. Meanwhile, Humphrey was now listening closely to everything, timing how long Ugochi stayed out, double-checking her stories, and reading meanings into her WhatsApp messages. One day, she returned from the market and he asked her with a dry voice, "How come you said you'd be back by 4 p.m. and now it's 4:32 p.m. Ugochi smiled. "I stopped to buy orange for Sylvia. The woman's queue was long today." He didn't argue. He simply nodded too fast, and the moment she turned away, he pulled out his phone and started typing again to no other person but Brenda. Brenda was now Humphrey's private CIA operative, and the more she fed him lies, the more he swallowed without chewing. To make things worse, Ugochi had no idea what was going on. She thought it was work stress. She even confided in Brenda one afternoon, whispering like someone trying to protect her marriage from the wind. "Brenda, I don't understand Humphrey again. He doesn't talk to me the way he used to. I feel like he's hiding something or suspecting me of something." Brenda widened her eyes like a shocked choir mistress. Ugochi, you Seth, you are too soft, Joe. Maybe it's just business stress like you said. Men have mood swings too. You know, I always say you should go out more and spice things up. Even if he's acting cold, just dress hot and ignore him and act like you don't even know he's acting funny. In fact, this is the time to even go out more often. By the time he sees that you're not even bothered, he will advise himself and behave. Then she smiled sweetly and squeezed Ugochi's hand, but inside, she was dancing azonto with glee. Her plan was working, and Ugochi had just unknowingly confirmed it. Soon, Humphrey started telling his siblings things. Small things, twisted things, exaggerated things. "She doesn't respect me anymore. She's always on the phone smiling, She goes out and comes back late. She's probably seeing someone. Believed him. After all, he was the man of the house and their breadwinner. His elder sister even said, "I've never really trusted that's your wife. She's too fine to be loyal." That one statement became the family motto. At their next family visit, Ugochi noticed how her in-laws greeted her like she had body odor. The laughter that used to follow her jokes was now replaced by tight-lipped smiles. She felt it, but she didn't understand it. One night, as she cleared the table after dinner, she finally asked him, "Humphrey, please, what's going on? What did I do wrong? Why are you shutting me out?" He looked at her. His face was blank. All he could say was, "I'm not shutting you out. You are just imagining things. And if you feel that way, then maybe there is something you are hiding from me. Perhaps, if you confess, then your conscience will be clear." But before Ugochi could respond, he stomped out of the dining room and entered his bedroom. Meanwhile, Humphrey no longer slept, at least not peacefully. Every time Ugochi shifted in bed or turned over to adjust her wrapper, his eyes would fly open like a watchdog on night duty. He started watching her closely, not lovingly like before, but with that quiet, suspicious look that says, "I know you are up to something and I will catch you." He would follow her eyes during conversations, trail her voice in phone calls, and make mental notes every time she laughed a little too hard. Ugochi noticed the change, not just in his behavior, but in his energy. There was a heaviness in the air, like thunderclouds gathering over their once sunny marriage. She found herself tiptoeing around her own husband, afraid to smile too much, afraid to frown too long. She had tried to question him on several occasions, but he always said nothing was wrong. She had no idea her figure, once admired, once celebrated, had now become an evidence against her. To Humphrey, every curve was now a red flag. Every outing was suspected. Every phone beep sounded like, "Your lover is calling." One Saturday afternoon, Ugochi wore a fitted gown to the market. It wasn't even intentional, just the first clean thing she found that morning. But the moment Humphrey saw her step out of the room, he squinted like an elder trying to read a faded will. "Is this what you're wearing to go and buy stew things?" Ugochi paused, confused. "What's wrong with it?" "It's tight." She looked down at herself. "Tight? Where?" "But this is the same dress I wore to Mami Joma's party last month." "Exactly." That was all he said. That day, Ugochi didn't just buy stew ingredients. She bought silence, confusion, and anxiety in bulk. She walked through the market with her head high, but her heart weighed down. Meanwhile, Humphrey began doing what every suspicious husband without proof eventually does. He created his own investigation department. He would scroll through her phone gallery at night, zooming in on blurry backgrounds of her selfies, trying to identify random reflections in sunglasses. He once asked her who Femi the Teller was, because she had saved the number as Femi Teller. "Since when did Teller start calling at 8 p.m? he would ask. He even began timing how long she stayed in the bathroom. And poor Ugochi, she was just existing, smiling at neighbors, returning calls, cooking meals, attending school PTA meetings, and still managing to look good without trying. But every move became ammunition. Brenda, the evil minister of confusion, kept checking in like a concerned friend. "You know, sometimes when men act like that, it's because they've done something themselves, so maybe he's the one cheating and projecting." Ugochi would sigh. "I just want my husband back." And Brenda would smile softly, saying, "You'll be fine. You always find a way to make things work. That's why I admire you." But behind that smile was pure wickedness wearing lip gloss. Meanwhile, Humphrey was confiding more and more in his siblings. His older brother, Kenneth, was the first to take it personally. "So you mean this girl is cheating and still bolding her face in the house? My friend, call family meeting. Let her explain herself before us." And just like that, the stage was set. Ugochi had no idea that plans were already on the way. She was still trying to piece together what went wrong, unaware that the people she cooked for, smiled at, and welcomed into her home had already chosen sides, and that she was about to face a major, unforeseen tragedy. The message came like a summon from a royal court that morning. It read, "Ugochi, be at the family house by 3 p.m. It's important." No explanation, no pleasantries, just cold instruction, signed by Kenneth, Humphrey's older brother and self-appointed family chairman. Ugochi read the message on her phone 3 times and sat quietly on the bed, confused and a little nervous. Humphrey didn't say a word about it. He just sat at the dining table like a stone sculpture, quietly sipping tea he didn't ask for. His silence was now louder than any argument. By 2:55 p.m., the sitting room of the Humphrey family house was already packed with accusers in matching bitterness. Kenneth, the loud one, Auntie Vero, who hadn't liked Ugochi since the wedding, and Uncle Paul, who was only there for money sharing afterwards. And of course, Brenda, who was not a family member but somehow managed to convince Ugochi to take her along as she slithers in with a flask of pepper soup and fake tears on standby. When Ugochi entered, dressed in her simplest Ankara and clutching her handbag like it contained her dignity, all eyes turned to her like she had just walked into a courtroom as the prime suspect in a murder case. She greeted everyone. Some responded with grunts. Some didn't respond at all. Brenda gave a tight, supportive smile like, "I'm here for you, babe." But her eyes said, "You are on your own." Kenneth cleared his throat. "Ugochi, you are welcome. Sit down. We have called this meeting because we are concerned, very concerned." Ugochi sat slowly, trying to hide how her hands were trembling. "Humphrey here, our brother, has been enduring things in silence, but it has reached a point where silence is no longer wisdom. So today, we want to hear from you directly." Humphrey still said nothing. He sat stiffly, arms folded, lips pressed tightly together like he was both the judge and the grieving party. Auntie Vero jumped in before Ugochi could speak. "Since you came into this family, peace has disappeared from my brother's eyes. Every time I see him, he's looking thinner, sadder. We don't know what you're doing behind closed doors." Uncle Paul chimed in. "We heard you come back late at night. Who are you seeing? Because it is not our brother you are coming home to." Ugochi blinked. "What is all this? What are you people saying? What have I done?" Brenda gave a soft sigh, her voice trembling with fake emotion. Maybe she didn't mean to hurt him. Maybe she was just lonely and didn't know how to communicate. Humphrey is such a sweet man. It's just painful to watch him go through all this. Ugochi turned sharply. "Brenda, you? You too?" Her voice cracked. A tear slipped down her cheek. Not the dramatic kind, but the kind that drops silently when your heart is too full to scream. She looked around the room, chest rising and falling, coming to the realization that she was surrounded by wolves. "For years, I have loved my husband. I have served this family with joy. I have cooked, cleaned, smiled, even when some of you disrespected me in silence. And now you gather to accuse me of something I did not do? She turned to Humphrey. Humphrey, look at me. Tell me, what exactly have I done to deserve this humiliation? Humphrey looked at her with cold eyes. He opened his mouth and then closed it again. That silence again, heavy, suffocating. Ugochi shook her head, pain morphing into anger. You all think I'm cheating, right? You think I'm that kind of woman? Fine. Maybe I should go and do it for real. Maybe I should give you people exactly what you keep accusing me of. Because clearly, being faithful, being loyal, being a good wife is not enough. The room gasped. Auntie Vero clutched her chest like someone had just insulted her entire generation. Humphrey stood up suddenly. Ugochi, shut up! No, I won't shut up, she fired back. You all have pushed me to the wall, and if I finally break, it's on you. Humphrey took one step forward and raised his hand, eyes wild, veins popping. But before the slap could land, his body trembled. Then he clutched his chest. Humphrey, Kenneth said, standing up. Humphrey dropped to one knee, panting hard. His face twisted in pain. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Then he fell flat to the ground. Screams erupted. Auntie Vero threw off her head tie and collapsed on the floor beside him. Brenda dropped her pepper soup. Uncle Paul was shouting, "Somebody call hospital!" But meanwhile, he was still holding his bottle of drink like a lifeline. Ugochi stood frozen, watching her husband convulse and cry for help with his eyes. The room became a chaos of running feet and prayers mixed with confusion. But it was too late. Within minutes, Humphrey's body stilled. The man, who once laughed so loudly it shook the walls, was gone. Meanwhile, the living room looked like chaos wrapped in lace and loud screams. Uncle Paul was already on his phone shouting, "Call the doctor, call the ambulance, call..." I don't even know who to call. But the only person not moving was Humphrey. He lay there, eyes open but lifeless, mouth slightly parted as if he had one last insult to hurl at Ugochi before he slipped away. Ugochi was frozen beside him, her palms covering her mouth in disbelief. Not one tear dropped from her eyes. Not because she didn't want to cry, but because everything was looking like a dream to her. The ambulance came late, fashionably late, like it was avoiding the awkwardness of death. By the time the paramedics checked his pulse and shook their heads, the house had gone eerily silent. Then it began, the whispers. Auntie Vero was the first to voice out her accusation. "You poisoned him! Since yesterday, he was shouting that you put something in his soup." Brenda, in her black outfit that felt a little too ready, suddenly began wailing louder than the widow. She dropped to her knees dramatically, crawling on the tiled floor like she had auditioned for the role of Chief Mourner Extraordinaire. "Humphrey! Oh, Humphrey, my brother from another mother. Oh, Humphrey, a good man is gone." She grabbed a throw pillow and screamed into it. Meanwhile, her eyes were completely dry. Ugochi, still speechless, sat in the corner, eyes wide, mouth trembling, heart collapsing. Then Kenneth, Humphrey's elder brother, cleared his throat like he was about to announce a village festival. "According to our tradition, she will drink the water used to bathe his corpse. If she is innocent, she will live. If not..." He shrugged dramatically. "The gods will handle it." That was the moment Ugochi's brain took a personal holiday. She fainted before Kenneth could finish his sentence, folding like a plastic chair. Brenda screamed again. "Oh God, she has confessed with her spirit. She knows what she did. She is already being judged by the gods." As Ugochi lay unconscious on the floor, the Humphrey clan wasted no time. Like seasoned real estate agents, they quickly drove down to Humphrey's house and searched across the house. Drawers opened, safes were cracked, files were lifted with suspicious greed. Auntie Vero was already typing into Google how to change names on a land document without stress. Ugochi was left with absolutely nothing. Every plot of land, every bank account, even the Toyota Camry that once belonged to her late father was reassigned to the family. There was no mention of the wife, no trust fund for the children, not even a thank you for her years of service as chief cook, babysitter, and personal therapist to one Humphrey Ikobi. Humphrey's lifeless body was already taken away and yet to be deposited at the morgue, but his siblings were more concerned about grabbing all they could without checking on the unconscious wife by the side. After they were done ransacking Humphrey's house, they returned to the family house and found Ugochi wailing and screaming and asking for her husband. Kenneth, in a cold voice, simply said, "Woman, save your crocodile tears for when it will be needed. We already know the truth. Prepare for the burial where you will prove your innocence by drinking the water from your husband's corpse." Ugochi wailed in a loud voice, screaming like someone that just lost her mother and father the same day. But her so-called friend, Brenda, was nowhere to be found. She was long gone, having achieved her main purpose. The sun blazed angrily that morning, as if it too was upset with the injustice about to take place. The compound of the late Chief Humphrey Ikobi was filled with people, family, villagers, elders, spectators, and those who came only for the jollof rice and burial souvenirs. But today, there was no joy, only whispers, side eyes, and a tension thick enough to slice yam with. Ugochi sat in one corner, wrapped in a faded black wrapper, her eyes swollen from weeping through the night. She clutched her two children tightly, as if trying to protect them from the storm that had already swallowed their world. Her mouth was dry, her soul empty. Suddenly, the talking drums stopped. The village elder, Pa Iwemba, stepped forward with a wooden cup in hand, filled with the dreaded corpse water, ritualistically used to prove a widow's innocence or guilt. If she drank and died, she was guilty. If she drank and lived, well, maybe she used juju. "Ugochi," he called, voice hoarse and commanding. "You must drink as tradition demands." Ugochi's eyes widened. Her lips trembled. "Please, please, I didn't kill my husband," she sobbed. "The soup I am accused of poisoning was the same soup I and my children ate. I did not poison him. He died before all of us. I am innocent. Please don't do this." But the elders were unmoved. The crowd leaned in, some hoping for drama, others silently praying for mercy. Her children, Sylvia and David, clung to her, crying loudly, "Mommy, don't drink it. Please, Mommy, don't." Auntie Vero, standing at the back with folded arms and a judgmental smirk, whispered to another relative, "She should just confess now and save us all this performance. Look at her, crying like a Nollywood actress." Ugochi looked up. Dust, shame, fear, and rage painted all over her face. She shook her head furiously. "This is wickedness. My hands are clean. Please, this is not right." Ugochi wailed, but the elders stood firm like mountain goats, refusing to be moved. Two men appeared with the calabash Pa Ibemba was holding earlier on. Ugochi shook her head violently, then fainted with the precision of an actress. But the elders were prepared. They fanned her, poured water on her, even threatened to wake her with hot pepper. A minute later, she was revived, sobbing, shaking, and in one of the most painful, humiliating moment of her life, the calabash touched her lips. The entire crowd leaned in. One sip, two gulps. She coughed. Then silence. For 5 seconds, nothing happened. Then 20. Then a full minute. She was still breathing. Whispers turned to confusion. An elder adjusted his glasses and looked again. Ugochi was still alive, standing, sobbing, with her head well shaved, but she was still alive. Even Brenda, the evil friend who surprisingly was at the burial, rolled her eyes, clearly disappointed that Ugochi hadn't started foaming from the mouth. The next morning, the elders called a brief meeting and came to a new conclusion. Whether she drank it and died or not, we cannot keep her here. She is not to be allowed into my late brother's house in the city too. Her presence is bringing bad energy, Kenneth, Humphrey's elder brother, said. And just like that, Ugochi was evicted. No property, no money, no support, and nowhere to go. As the compound gate in the village slammed shut behind her, she walked barefoot down the dusty road, her children by her side, each of them carrying a small nylon bag of their remaining clothes. The villagers stared. Some looked away, others whispered. Ugochi didn't cry this time. Her tears were dry, but her heart whispered something no one could hear. They've taken everything, but I'm still breathing. That's all I need. Ugochi and her children walked for a long time before they finally found an uncompleted building with no doors or windows and decided to spend the night there. She looked lost, cold. Her 2 children kept crying of hunger, but she was virtually stripped of everything. When her husband, Humphrey, was alive, he didn't want Ugochi to work. He made sure to provide all the family needed. Even when Ugochi asked him to open a business for her, he refused and told her that taking care of him and the children was enough work. Now, Ugochi has nothing to fall back on. Humphrey's family did not even care how she and Humphrey's children would survive. Somehow, the children managed to go to sleep that night. But Ugochi, who laid awake because the last thing on her mind was sleep, made up her mind to find food for her children no matter what it took. The next morning, Ugochi and her children were woken up by a harsh voice. "Madam, what are you and your children doing here? Who gave you permission to sleep here?" "Please, sir, forgive me. We were chased away from my husband's house and we had nowhere to stay. Please pardon me. I promise not to litter this place," Ugochi said. The man, who is the site manager of the building, was moved by her tears and look of helplessness. "But work is ongoing here, ma. You and your children cannot stay here. It is not safe, and you will be in the way of the laborers," he said. "I will take my children away for the work to continue, sir. We will come back when the work is done," Ugochi pleaded. "All right, please do as you said, because I don't want the owner of this building to come and meet you here." But just as he was about to turn back and go, Ugochi said, "Please, sir, I know you have done so much for us already, but can I please join the laborers and work? I need to make money for me and my children to eat." "This is hard labor, meant for men. You cannot do this job," the man replied. "Try me, sir. I will do it very well. I promise. My children need to eat. Please." "If you are sure, then you can join them. At the end of the day, we will calculate what you worked for the day and pay you." Then he brought out some money from his pocket. "Take this money and get something for you and the children to eat first before you start working," the man said. Ugochi fell on the floor, thanking him. She quickly rushed out with her children, and they found a small canteen nearby where they bought 2 plates of food and devoured it like people who hadn't eaten in years. Ugochi then kept her children nearby where she could see them and started work immediately. The sight was loud. Iron rods clanked against each other. Buckets thudded onto hard concrete as shovels dug into mixed sand and cement. Ugochi, once the elegant wife of Chief Humphrey Ikobi, now wore an oversized t-shirt and faded wrapper, her feet crusted with cement dust. Her once radiant skin was now dulled by sun and shame. Yet, her spirit hadn't died, only been weathered by the harshness of life. "I don't need to be fine to survive," she muttered as she hoisted another headpan of mixed cement, wobbling slightly under its weight. "Madam Widow, this one no be burial o. No, na work site. Move am." One of the younger laborers laughed, mocking her. She turned, sweat dripping from her forehead. "At least I dey work. You dey here dey laugh person wey still get dignity. You no get shame?" The laborer hissed. Another one snickered. They were probably not happy to be sharing money with her at the site. One even tried to toast her during break, licking his lips and saying, "Widow wey fine like this. Make we manage ourselves now. Me and you go fit build again." Ugochi rolled her eyes so hard they nearly fell out. "Go and wash your destiny first before you come near me." Meanwhile, little Sylvia and David were now hawking sachet water at the roadside. Sylvia would yell, "Pure water! Cold pure water!" while David carries the bowl filled with packs of sachet water. At night, in their one room inside the uncompleted building, Ugochi would gather them under a thin wrapper and tell stories, some borrowed from folk tales, others invented. "There was once a lioness," she began one night, her voice hoarse but warm, "whose cubs were taken by the jungle. They mocked her, they left her with nothing. But one day, the lioness roared again, and the whole jungle bowed." The children clapped and begged for another story, but she only smiled. "Sleep, my cubs. Tomorrow we conquer again." Then, as they slept, she would kneel beside them and pray in whispers. "God, I know I'm innocent. Don't let shame kill me before breakthrough finds me. Give my children joy, even if I never laugh again. But please, don't let them see me beg again." Her hands trembled, her knees hurt, her back ached, and her beauty, hidden beneath cement dust, sweat and heartbreak, but still there, glowing faintly like an ember that refused to die. Then came one hot afternoon. After a long shift of lifting sand, mixing cement, and dodging crude advances, Ugochi stood up to carry one last pan. Her legs buckled, her vision blurred, voices around her faded, and then everything went black. As she hit the ground, she barely heard the commotion, but when she was revived, one voice pierced through the haze, rising above the shouts and panic. A voice she hadn't heard in years. "Ugochi!" She stared slightly. "Ugochi, is this you?" Her eyes fluttered open, and through the dust and sweat and humiliation, she saw a familiar face, one from her secondary school days, one she never thought she would see again. As she sat up, everything was spinning. Her head pounded like a drum. The world was hazy, but one thing was clear. The woman crouching beside her wore a sleek suit, red lipstick, and an expression that could stop a moving truck. "Ugochi, are you okay?" The voice was warm, familiar, like a song she hadn't heard in years. "Tacha!" Ugochi blinked, barely believing what she was seeing. "Tacha Onwudinwe!" The woman chuckled and helped her sit up. "I've been looking for you, you stubborn goat. I sent you a friend request on Facebook and even left my number asking you to reconnect, but you never responded. You just vanished. Ugochi's cracked lips tried to smile. I didn't vanish. Life happened. Tacha shook her head, brushing the dust from Ugochi's face. And you were working here, on my site, carrying cement like a bricklayer? Ugochi nodded slowly. Wow, your site. I didn't know it was your building. Tacha stood up, her heels clicking sharply on the floor. She spun around and called out to the site manager. Please, call some boys to help her to my car. Then she turned to Ugochi. We are leaving here now. I'm taking you away from here. But Ugochi quickly said, Please, my children, they are hawking sachet water by the roadside. Of course, we will go there now and pick them up as well. No more hawking sachet water or bricklayer work for you all henceforth, Tacha said. Later that evening, as Ugochi sat in a cozy office sipping juice after she and her children had been treated to a buffet earlier in the afternoon, Tacha grilled her like a seasoned detective. You mean they threw you out, made you drink corpse water, seized the house and everything that belongs to you, and not even one person raised a finger for you? Ugochi nodded, her eyes misty. They said I killed Humphrey. Tacha folded her arms and paced the room. They picked the wrong widow this time. Ugochi looked up, confused. What do you mean? Tacha stopped and smiled with all her teeth. Ugochi, I'm now Barrister Tacha Onwudiwe. I own this building and many more. I run a law firm and I fight for women like you who people think have no voice. Ugochi blinked. You are a lawyer? Not just a lawyer. A loud, troublesome, dramatic, fire-breathing lawyer that has never lost a case. Tacha said, striking a pose. And you, my dear, are my next assignment. Tacha, I don't want trouble, Ugochi murmured. Trouble already came to your doorstep and dragged you into the mud. Now, we are dragging it back to court. I'm just tired. I don't know if I have the strength. Tacha knelt before her and held her hands. Let me carry the fight. You have carried enough shame, enough cement, and enough heartbreak. It's time they carry their own cross. Ugochi stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. Okay, let's fight. But please, I just want what belongs to my children, nothing else. A wide grin spread across Tacha's face. Now, that's the Ugochi I remember. A week later, Auntie Vero, who sat outside the family compound gossiping with her friends, heard a knock at the gate and opened it only to see someone with a thick brown envelope. Good afternoon. Are you Veronica Ikobi? Yes. What is it? She said. Here, court summon. You and your brother, Kenneth Ikobi, are being sued by Ugochi Ikobi for illegal property seizure, emotional abuse, and attempted ritual coercion. Auntie Vero blinked, her mouth ajar. Court? Yes, ma. Please, sign here. Her hand trembled. The glass of drink she was holding slipped and shattered on the ground. The era of silence was over. The widow had found her voice, and Tacha was the microphone. Then came the court proceeding. The courtroom was packed. From bloggers to nosy aunties with headscarves tied like World War helmets. Everyone wanted to witness the infamous widow versus in-laws case that had taken over the community the way fresh pepper takes over the eyes when it mistakenly enters. The courtroom clerk shouted, "Court!" Everyone stood as the Honorable Justice Egwatu walked in, his glasses hanging at the tip of his nose like they were tired of witnessing injustice. Ugochi, looking radiant in a modest Ankara dress, sat beside her lawyer, Tacha. Her children sat quietly behind her, dressed in matching clothes. They had not seen their mother smile this confidently in a long time. Auntie Vero and Kenneth shuffled into the courtroom like school children caught cheating in an exam. Their lawyer, a lanky man who looked like he had been dragged from his bed, clutched a file that seemed to contain only tissue paper and hope. Case number 256, Ugochi Ikobi vs. the Ikobi family, the clerk announced. Tacha stood, her voice loud and smooth. My lord, today we present the story of a widow robbed, abused, and nearly destroyed by the very people who should have protected her. The courtroom hummed. Tacha called Ugochi to the stand. She stood up slowly, walked to the witness box, and took a deep breath. My lord, after my husband died, I thought the worst had already happened, but I didn't know that evil was just getting warmed up. I was accused of killing the only man who ever loved me. They forced me to drink water used in cleaning his dead body, hoping I would die from it. Seeing that I survived, they chased me and my children from our home and took all my husband's properties, leaving us with absolutely nothing. Gasps echoed around the room. The judge adjusted his glasses. Auntie Vero rolled her eyes. Objection, my lord. Auntie Vero's lawyer croaked. On what grounds? The judge asked. On the intensity of emotion, the lawyer replied. The courtroom burst into laughter. Overruled, the judge said flatly. Tacha brought forward a sealed medical report. This, my lord, is the autopsy report conducted by Dr. Ifeanyi Mbakwe. It clearly states that the deceased, Humphrey Nwankwo, died of complications due to untreated hypertension, not poisoning, not witchcraft, not spiritual arrow, just blood pressure and stubbornness. The judge nodded, flipping through the document. The lawyer for Kenneth and Auntie Vero stood again. My lord, these are just papers. Anybody can forge anything. Tacha arched a brow. Oh, really? Should we also bring in the family doctor? The lawyer quickly sat down, pretending to read from his empty file. Tacha continued. Now, about the ritual involving corpse water, that's a lie, Auntie Vero shouted from the bench. Silence in court! The judge banged his gavel. She is not saying all the truth. The water was tradition, not necessarily water used in washing her late husband's body, Kenneth added. You made her drink water used to bathe a corpse, Tacha said, eyes blazing. Do you want us to bring the mortuary attendant? The courtroom went still. Even flies refused to buzz. The judge turned to the defendants. This court does not tolerate inhumanity disguised as tradition. You embarrassed the institution of family. One elder tried to stand and explain. Your lordship, in our culture, The judge slammed the gavel. Sit down. I said sit down before I find you all in contempt. The old man sat back like a balloon that just lost air. Therefore, the judge continued, straightening his wig. This court finds the defendants guilty of unlawful property seizure, emotional abuse, and public defamation. The deceased houses, lands, and accounts are to be returned to Mrs. Ugochi Ikobi within 14 days. Luckily for you, she is not pressing further charges, but only wants what belongs to her children to be given to her. Then there was a loud gasp from the crowd. Furthermore, this court mandates an apology be issued, both privately and publicly, from the Ikobis to Ugochi Ikobi and her children. The gavel came down and the final thought. Case closed. Outside the courtroom, reporters surrounded Ugochi as tears rolled down her cheeks. She knelt and embraced her children tightly. They held onto her like they never wanted to let go. Flash bulbs popped, microphones hovered, but all the camera lenses captured one thing: a mother, a fighter, finally free. And standing a few feet behind, smiling like a proud elder sister, was Thatcher, dressed like a fashion icon with the spirit of a lioness. 3 years later, Ugochi stood by the gates of her house. Not Humphrey's family house, not borrowed shelter, her own home, but with restored dignity and God's grace. As the movers unpacked furniture, she held Sylvia in one arm and David in the other. She was no longer the widow who once lifted cement on a construction site. She was now the CEO of Ashes to Beauty Foundation for widows and children. And the way her heels clicked on the polished tiles was louder than any victory song. The housewarming was small but elegant. Just close friends, a few invited press, and trays of party jollof rice that could raise the dead. As Thatcher was about to make a toast, a haggard-looking woman walked in. It was Brenda, the backstabber who once drank juice in Ugochi's parlor and fed her lies with a smile. "Ugochi, please, I don't know what came over me," Brenda began, her voice already soaked in drama. "I was jealous. I was stupid. I fed your late husband lies about you, and he started suspecting you. I thought if I destroyed your home, it would give me peace. But I only destroyed myself. I have not known peace since the burial of your husband. His spirit has been tormenting me. Please forgive me. I am so sorry." The room went silent. Even one housefly flying around the cooler of jollof rice, trying to get a taste of the food, paused for a moment. Ugochi took a sip from her wine glass and looked Brenda up and down like a judge in a courtroom of grace. Then she smiled, the kind of smile that's peaceful and dangerous at the same time. "Brenda, you are sorry." "Really? What exactly are you sorry for? Will your sorry bring back my husband or replace the father my children lost? You were my best friend. I opened the door of my home to you. I never for once wished you evil. I even confided in you what I was going through, and you still went on to feed my husband with more lies about me? You are worse than a devil. But you know what? I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I don't have space in my heart for anger and hatred. I will leave you to your conscience and the spirit fighting you. But please, I don't ever want to see you near me or my children ever again." And with that, Ugochi turned away from her as Brenda left, crying and wailing like someone who has lost the will to live. Later that evening, when everyone has gone and the house tidied up, Sylvia crawled into Ugochi's lap with a book in her hand. "Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be a lawyer like Auntie Thatcher," she declared. Ugochi smiled. "Then get ready to argue with the whole village and win." David marched in with a notepad titled "How My Mom Drank Corpse Water and Survived." "I'm writing my first book," he announced. "Chapter 1, The Water That Wasn't Holy." Ugochi burst into laughter, hugging both of them tightly. "I have the two best children in the world. Don't ever let anyone define your worth." That night, after tucking them into bed, Ugochi stood in the living room. On the table sat a framed photo of her, Humphrey, Sylvia, and David taken before the storm. She touched it gently, eyes glistening but proud. "Perhaps, now that you know the truth, I hope you are finally resting. I miss you, my dear husband," she whispered, tears flowing down her cheeks as she held the picture close to her chest. This is where we draw the curtain on this story. Thank you so much for watching the story, besties. Please let me know what you think about it in the comment section. I would love to hear your thoughts regarding this barbaric act of making widows drink their husband's corpse water to prove their innocence. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and click on the notification bell to be notified each time I drop a new video. Until I come your way again soon, stay happy.